Ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased to have on the line from California, Dave Crimmen. Dave, how you doing?
I am doing awesome. Happy Monday. Even if this does not air on a Monday, happy day, whatever day it is.
And Dave, we've been playing Come On and Revved Up, which are two brilliant tracks, brilliant rock and roll. Whatever got you into rock and roll?
Oh, well, my birthday is October 21st, 1955.
Right.
I've got an older brother and three older sisters. And my sisters were bringing home records by Elvis Presley and Little Richard when I was 6 months old. And that's all I've ever wanted to do was play rock and roll music. And my oldest sister, Arlene, here, this might help with the video. My oldest sister, Arlene, she used to play locally in bands. She wasn't professional, but she did play locally. And she had a little amp and a little guitar, and I... one day over coffee described her amplifier to her, and her mouth was on the floor. She said, "You were only 6 months old when I had that thing." And I said, "Yeah, but I knew music came out of there." I said, what did you do with the amp and the guitar, sis?" She says, "Well, I met LJ 6 months later and I sold it." I was crushed.
No.
And I just found out from LJ a couple of years ago that she sold the guitar and the amp to pay for their wedding, so it went to a good cause.
I mean, so obviously Elvis is your inspiration.
Oh yeah, Elvis Presley and Little Richard is right up there as a very close second. These guys, these records that were made, I remember, being a toddler. Maybe even an infant, but sitting in front of the Victrola, that's what they called it in 1955, and it was a Crosley, so it was a combination turntable and radio, and the speaker was probably, about 6 inches tall, which was just about how tall I was at that time. So hearing these records just make every cell in my body just vibrate, and it was just fantastic stuff. And all I ever wanted to do at that point, and still at this point, all I've ever wanted to do is take this love and joy, just share it.
Yeah, it's a great music though, isn't it? It's a very happy music.
I think so, and we're coming around to a time here in humanity where we need to start hearing some happy music again. And I jokingly say that, when my record goes number one, I will be a 50-year overnight success. The world is catching up to me. And that's okay. Success is the operative phrase, and thanks to good folks like you, this is happening.
Now, when it comes to performing live, I mean, you still get obviously you get a buzz out of performing live. How do you find audiences react to good old rock and roll?
Here in the Bay Area, when either I do a solo acoustic gig or with the band, the word that keeps coming up is authentic. They're not musicians in the audience, but they can feel and sense something. And it's just like, you guys just aren't doing these songs as covers. You're really authentic, which is something other bands are not doing. I mean, we sit down and learn songs in the original keys, and I do my best to do the solos faithfully. My guys do their best to learn the backup vocals, same arrangements. We really don't vary from it. And a lot of dancers love it because, another compliment that comes up is like, the song was originally 2 minutes and 3 seconds, and you play it 2 minutes and 3 seconds. You don't try and make it into a 10-minute jam. And that allows dancers a chance to go back to their table, have a drink, and come back out on the dance floor. And so that, ironically, with my songwriting, you know, authentic is the word that keeps coming up there as well. People are really starting to get the idea that, you know, this is who I am on a soul level, not just a physical level. I eat, breathe, drink, and sleep rock and roll. You know, just love this stuff.
Now, you say they're authentic, and one of the things I think I found out is the band is very authentic with their instrumentation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, for example, let's just take Hound Dog by Elvis Presley. It's just, you know, electric guitar, bass, and drums. And the only time the Jordanaires come in is during Scotty Moore's guitar solo. And that's because it fills out what we guitar or a piano to fill out the sound while Scotty takes his solo. And these are just little organic tricks that they did in the 1950s and early 60s that, you know, nowadays you have 3,602 tracks, so you can have a whole choir singing in the background.
Yep.
But this is what they had. And you don't look at it limitation so much. I look at it as, okay, we have an opportunity. So we learned a lot of these tricks over the years, and that's what comes out in both us, you know, doing cover tunes and in my original songs.
Now, you mentioned the Jordanaires there. You've recorded with the Jordanaires on Come On, isn't it?
On Come On, and there's another song that'll be coming out later this year. It's a ballad called When She Was Mine. And yeah, I was playing Viva Las Vegas one year. This is a weekender that they've had now for almost 20 years that celebrates the lifestyle, the clothes, the hair, the music. And I met a good friend who had a booth there one year and was selling all. He's another musician, songwriter, very, very capable. And he knew the guys personally. And I said, gee, can I get, I bought a bunch of pictures from him. I said, gee, could you get the Jordanaires to autograph these? And he says, sure, no problem. And God bless, Neil Matthews was still alive at the time. So I've got the photo, a couple of photos that are autographed by Gordon Stoker, who has since passed away as well, Neil Matthews, and Ray Walker, the bass singer, who is still alive and kicking and recording, God bless. And so then Larry and I got to be very good friends. As Johnny Cash said about Carl Perkins, the moment I met him, I felt he was a kindred spirit. There was, you know, a real connection there. And so I called him up one day. I go, hey, Larry, how do I go about getting the Jordanaires to record on a couple of my songs? I go, do they still record? He goes, oh, yeah. Here's Gordon's number. Just call him up. I go, what? You know, what? Just call him? Now, you got to understand, my dad is from Augusta, Georgia, the southern part of the United States, which is where rock and roll came from. Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, all that. And so a lot of my family lives down there. And, yeah, in the South, you just call people up. Well, you know, I was born and raised in San Francisco, yet there's still that big influence of the South. And but here in San Francisco and Los Angeles and New York, you don't call people up. You call your attorney, who calls their attorney, who said their manager. You know the drill.
Yeah.
So Larry said, just call him up. And I'm going, okay. So I did. And Gordon was one of the sweetest guys in the world. Says, yeah, we'd love to do it. He goes, right now I'm on vacation. And I go, oh, where are you, Gordon? He says, oh, I'm at my timeshare in Miami Beach. And I'm thinking to myself, Miami Beach, it must be good to be a Jordanaire, to have your home in Nashville and a timeshare in Miami Beach. Okay.
Yeah.
But we recorded the songs here in the Bay Area and did exactly what Ricky Nelson did in the 50s. We mailed the tapes back to Nashville, and they put their tracks on and mailed it back to us. And I got a little extra treat. Neil Matthews, who had passed away at that point and wasn't on my records, but he was the one that developed the Nashville numbers system. This is a system of reading music that's not notation.
Okay.
And they sent back all the charts for my songs written out in the numerical notations. I was like, oh my God. And my producer, Michael Melinda, he put the tapes on, and it was like 10:30 in the morning, and the first thing we heard was the Jordanaires by themselves, and we were all floored. I go, stop the tape. I'm taking us all out to breakfast right now. I can't even think this sounds so good. And, Michael Melinda, my producer, he was the former editor of Guitar Player magazine for 18 years. He's done development deals for major record labels as a producer. He's been working with me since 1989. And he said, that's how background vocals are supposed to be. And it turns out, after talking to Ray Walker, they did it in 2 takes, and 1 take was just to get levels. And they recorded their backup vocals just like they did in the 50s and early 60s. The 4 of them stood in a circle around 1 microphone and sang. And I found out later that's a little insurance on their part, so nobody messes with the mix of their vocals.
Oh, yeah, of course. Brilliant.
It's on 1 track. So at another festival in Jackson, Tennessee, which is Carl Perkins' hometown, Larry, my mutual friend, and Ray were going to be doing a gig and at this festival, and they asked me to play guitar. And I said, great. And I did not know it at the time, but Ray Walker is just a character. The man has got an out-of-this-world sense of humor. And so he stops the band in the middle of rehearsal, and he starts pacing back and forth, and he starts going off on me. What did your producer do with our tracks, boy? We are so tired of our music being... And I must have had my mouth on the floor. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, this is Ray Walker of the Jordanaires. He's going off on me. And I said, well, Ray, we did do one thing. He says, what's that, boy? I says, we turned you up. And he goes, we're so good. Well, it's about time.
Love it.
Turns out that was my hazing, my welcoming to the band.
Dave, something I'd love to ask you. When you go out on the road, when you're actually performing, what do you prefer? The sort of very small, intimate clubs, or do you like getting out on the big stages, doing the sort of big festivals and things?
Well, put it to you this way: I haven't played Wembley Stadium yet. So
oh, that's on the cards. That's coming up.
I don't know how big, but I just love performing. Give me a microphone and 200 people in a pub, and I am in heaven. But if there's 5,000 out there, hey, I'm in more heaven. It's a bigger party. So I just love getting out there. I solo acoustic here in the Bay Area. I have a lot of clients that are senior centers, memory care centers, and folks that have gotten to the point where they can't quite 100% take care of themselves, and they hire me to come in for an hour and play music, and I go in there, and if I'm doing Ricky Nelson or Little Richard, they know what I'm doing. and
they relate, yeah.
They relate, and I always tell them, if you feel like singing along, sing loud. I don't care if you're in key, just sing loud. I said, I'm the 5th of 5 kids. You want to know how you get fed in my mama's house? You sing loud. And you don't sing, just yesterday morning, They let me know. You don't sing that. You sing, womp, bum, loo, bum, and bum, bum. They feed you fish just to shut you up. It works every time.
Hey, look, is there an album? We've got the single with double-sided, I guess. Is there going to be an album?
Oh, there's what's going on right now is, and I love the fact that you use the phrase album. Thank you.
I'm old school.
Hey, it goes with the hair, baby. People are starting to figure me out. Publishers and record label people. And I'm always asked, what type of music do you play? And I always tell them, it's not about the music, baby. It's about the hair. It goes with the hair. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There are CDs out on iTunes and Spotify. But what I've learned in these last 2 years through taking a lot of courses in sync music is a part of the industry where you specifically write for TV shows, movies, and commercials. It's very lucrative, and I'm got a lot of folks interested in me right now, especially after the Elvis movie from last year.
Yeah.
And yeah, what we're doing is we're going back into the studio and remixing and remastering. I learned all of my tracks. I learned a great lesson at one of these songwriters conventions a year ago. And so what we're doing is we're taking every one of my tracks from every one of my CDs, albums, and whatever, and we're remastering them. And this is a process where they were professionally mixed and mastered back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. But people are listening on different media nowadays, and technology ups the ante like every 2 years. And going into the studio with my engineer, Tom Lukens, I realized that this is why I read that Hound Dog by Elvis Presley has been re-released and remastered. I go, didn't they do that 5 or 6 years ago? Well, the reason they do it all the time is because technology ups the ante. It's not so much about making it better, but let's just say it's about dusting them off a little bit. So we're doling them out. My new single, Miss Lonely, will drop on April 10th, which is National Siblings Day here in the States. And it's dedicated to my 3 older sisters. And the whole, I never thought about it as an women's empowerment song. I just thought about it, more like a good old rock and roll song. But, Mama used to say to the girls, don't complain about guys taking it for a walk. For every guy that takes it for a walk, a girl can do it too. She was always one that was decades ahead of that, and that's what the song is about. And also, we've taken my last single, which was out as a vinyl 45 RPM record, and it's a song about my favorite car in the whole wide world. It's called 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air.
Oh, yes! What a car!
and both of these singles will come out April 10th. So while we're not resurfacing the whole entire album or CD, there's plenty of material that's going to be doled out over the next 2 years. And basically, we're going to be doing 1 or 2 songs every 2 months in June to celebrate the start of summer. I have a new instrumental that I wrote called For a Venture. And the song is dedicated to a group I grew up listening to called The Ventures.
Yeah, Pipeline.
Oh, yeah. You might say they're the American version of the Shadows.
Yeah.
You might. I don't know if the Ventures were big in the UK or not. Unfortunately, the Shadows should have been, but weren't big in the US. And I love Hank Marvin's playing, and I love the whole band. Thank God through YouTube and all that, I've rediscovered them. And I thought it was, I love looking up the history of musicians, writers, producers, record labels, or whatever. And I thought it was fascinating that when the Shadows records would come out, they were on the B side, and the A side would be them backing up. I'm sorry, I'm only on one cup of coffee. Who was the singer they backed up?
Cliff Richard.
Thank you. And Cliff, Cliff seems to be a really nice guy. He is a really fantastic singer. He's had a few top 10 records here in the States, mostly in the 70s when Elton John signed him to Rocket Records, and there was a big boost in his career here. So I've seen interviews of Cliff, but I did not know about the Shadows till a few years later. And then I found out they worked so closely together that I thought it was really brilliant the way they put their songs out, their records. And I just discovered a video of a TV show, it must be from the early 60s, where the Shadows are playing Apache.
Yeah.
But it's not Hank on lead guitar, it's Cliff. And he did a pretty darn good job, too. And Hank comes out at the end of the song like, "What are you doing, mate?" Really brilliant stuff.
Hey, look, it's been great chatting with you. I'm going to look for that new single when it comes out and make sure we get it on air. Until we get a chance to chat again, Dave Crimmen, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the music.
Leith, talk to me anytime. Thank you so much for helping out and spreading the word and keeping the hair going, baby. Thank you.
Take it easy and have a good day.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye for now. Thanks, Dave. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Why does that keep happening?